are still processing that. We are intimately, closely involved and integrated with what's left of our minds and subconscious. Everything that exists out to the deepest reaches of space.
Thank you very much, John. He was too humble at the beginning of telling me, saying like, oh, Lisa, you know what, I don't think I'm that great in terms of public speaking. I think he's doing really a fantastic job. Give another round of applause to John. Wonderful. Thank you, John. So our next speaker, this guy, I just love his topic instantly because I am a tea drinker. I love drinking tea and I love drinking pu'er in particular. So our next speaker, Mr. Eric Smythe, he's an expert in Chinese tea with a specialization in vintage pu'er. With almost 2 decades of practice in Chinese tea, Eric has a deep understanding of traditional Chinese tea culture and Cha Dao. So he's going to talk about ceremony and ritual, mindfulness, access to the inner world of consciousness. 好，接下来呢，让我们以热烈掌声邀请我们的第2位演讲分享的嘉宾Eric Smythe。
Thanks very much. I've taken some liberties with my topic, as I normally do, but it's great to be here. It's great to meet everyone so serendipitously, and I'll remind you in advance, in case I forget at the end, that we have a tea demonstration which is going to be put on behalf of the tea shop that Van Shop by Kira and Tien outside after the speeches. Give you a little more depth on what I'm trying to put forward here. So, Kira and I long held the dream of opening a tea shop to showcase the traditional Chinese art form. Tea was something we'd both fallen in love with from an early age, and it's spent the bulk of our adult lives practicing and proliferating. The shop has taken on a new life in the form of Fan Shop, retaining the essence of what we started with and expanding to create even greater reach into the local as well as international marketplace. At the time, there was no other tea house downtown which dedicated itself to what we refer to as Kung Fu tea, the method of tea preparation which exists somewhere between haute cuisine and meditative practice. A quietly bold statement, a subtle revolution in the cultural landscape of Vancouver. Not that tea wasn't already being drunk. Vancouver is at least halfway an Asian city. And so tea was certainly a big part of many people's lives, though it had yet to announce itself as a vital and commanding cultural force. Perhaps, though, this is the way that tea works, subtly and by degrees, like water overtaking without much ado. Vancouver has now a vibrant and dedicated tea scene operating in the open, one which includes both the serious and exacting tea collector, as well as the youth in yoga pants looking for a cat. We were by no means alone in this effort to make Vancouver the tea capital of North America, though I'm perhaps the least shy about saying so. We are now increasingly seeing local people proud of the traditional culture, stepping forward and sharing more of what they know, and in the process, generating greater and greater interest in those things which China does best and has done for millennia. We certainly respect the tea culture of other regions, though the original tea culture has a special force of its own, one which, when uncovered and traced back to the root, has the ability to inform and expand the view of all the traditions which emerged later. It is this concept of seizing upon what is most original and most essential which this talk is focused upon. It is, in a sense, the core value of the way of tea, for if we are able to return to the still and still-moving place within ourselves while drinking tea, we then have the ability to impact our world in ways unexpected and common hours, to borrow a phrase from Thoreau. In fact, it was Henry Thoreau that brought me into all this in the first place. The pursuit of the tea and culture of China. I began reading Walden after graduating university here in Vancouver, and by the time I'd finished it, I found myself in Taiwan in search of adventure. These events were my first real experience with quantum action. It was at this time where I first engaged the process, which was later quantified and put into words by my teacher of tea a number of years later, what might be called the art of tea manifestation. So, to take a step back, I was drinking some Japanese sencha bought from the grocery store equipped only with the belief that I was to follow my bliss into the unknown. And I did. I have to admit that the tea I made back then was probably among some of the worst tea ever brewed in the history of man. Delicate green tea brewed at 100 degrees for 5 minutes in Brown Betty. Strong medicine to swallow. It tasted revolting, but I drank it anyway, determined that it was good for me. I drank this tea, read Thoreau and Joseph Campbell, and dreamed the next chapter of life into creation. I remember distinctly standing at the intersection of two roads in a mountain village in Taiwan and answering the call to adventure. One path led to Taipei, a job and a life not much different than in any other major city of the world. The second path led to Miaoli, a tiny time capsule of a town which coincidentally was home to, or part-time home to, a host of giants of traditional disciplines. Here was a land that time forgot to some extent, a 40-carat diamond, which unfaceted looks like a slightly grimy piece of glass. But as it turns out, Qigong gurus and tea masters tend to walk to their own rhythm and are rarely found in shopping malls or at Starbucks. Study in the martial disciplines first really opened my eyes in a big way to the fact that I hadn't been told everything growing up about the nature of reality. Reality was far more fluid than many people gave it credit, and much more malleable and bendable to individual and collective will. I can get behind the idea that all this is simply a grand cosmic dream and we're at once the dreamed and the dreamer, but for the purposes of this discussion, I'll focus on how we can operate within the scaffold of this reality matrix and how engaging our chi, our inner magnetism, we can shape our worlds in ways which seem at first inconceivable to the uninitiated. Fortunately, at this event, we're speaking primarily with the like-minded, and so we can use shorthand. What I'm about to lay out is simply another set of tools which can be employed in order to enhance and empower your experience of tea, and also the experience of life in general. Having studied martial arts for about a year, I was by then obsessed with all things chi, eating, studying, and sleeping exclusively in that vein. It was at this stage in learning where one has yet to really internalize the principles, and one is especially eager to talk about it at any opportunity. A friend of mine asked me to tea, which I yawned over, but clever as he was, told me that it was a great way to expand my chi, so off to the tea shop we went. My master's tea house at the time was nothing more than a reinvented office building from a long repurposed motel setup along the side of a busy road about 15 minutes out of town. Stepping into the shop was to step into another world. The thick smell of fermenting tea hit me like a wave walking in, and the place hummed almost audibly, as only some of the ancient temples in India do in my experience. The chi meter was off the charts. I knew this was special before I took the first sip. By the fourth sip of this 40-year-old pour, my first real tea, I was hooked. As my Mandarin improved, I both understood and was able to communicate more with the teacher as well as with the band of scholars and artists that hung around the place. Eventually, I stopped referring to him exclusively as the dude and started calling him Teacher He. While there are many eminent teachers of Chinese tea, I hold him in special regard, as it was from him that I learned tea. Not so much through instruction, for that began only with the translation of Cha Dao, but through osmosis. By his hand, I had the chance to drink many of the oldest and rarest teas on earth, each one etched into the marrow of the bones as if set in an index card. The instructions in the process of the way of tea were rarely discussed outright at this time, perhaps in keeping with Lao Tzu's injunction that those who speak don't know. Much of it emerged later during the translation I did with my colleague and fellow North American expatriate, James. Here I'll try to express a few of the key points in tea appreciation, and most particularly in relation to the perceiving of the chi of tea. Chi, or energy as it's often translated, but magnetic resonance would be a better fit, can be used for almost any application. It can be used to attract wealth, to create great works of art, to heal, or even to kill. It's all the same energy, differently directed, though the qualities and degrees of subtlety and fineness determine its relative value. The more subtle and fine the chi, the farther reaching it is, and the more deeply it is seen to penetrate, whether within the body or into the etheric, the akashic, or the quantum. In fact, the energy of some of the oldest and rarest teas is almost imperceptible to all but those who have experience in dealing with it. For this reason, we often see people with previous experience in meditation, yoga, and fine arts being more readily able to appreciate the subtle vibratory force of tea. If our body is likened to a radio, when we tune ourselves into the specific frequency of a given tea, we're able to absorb it, to be cleansed by it, and to transmute this energy into the purpose of our choosing. In the Way of Tea Research Society, this was referred to as turning the energy switch. The experience and result of doing so is similar to plugging in a worn-out cell phone into a power source. The result is often anything but subtle, both energizing and rejuvenating the participants in a dramatic fashion. At a good tea session, it's not uncommon to have people burst out laughing, to rise and dance or sing a song, which I won't be doing today, unable to contain the flood of feel-good qi flowing through them. The main reason we would drink tea was for the qi of the brew. Flavor, although often very delicious, was secondary. Through the assistance of this energy, we can very easily turn on the energy switch within the body and connect with the universal energy. Via this energy, we may purify, uplift, and merge ourselves with the nature of the universe, becoming one with the universe. This is the stated goal of the Way of Tea. In uniting with the universe, we recognize the interconnectedness of all things and are thus able to influence our world, be it imminently or at a distance. One important piece of calligraphy hung in Master He's tea shop. It read simply, "Ask tea." In a sense, it implied the respectful principle of not chattering while drinking good tea. It also refers to one of the highest concepts in Chada. The principle states that all answers are contained within, and that by asking of our own heart, all will be revealed to us. This, of course, requires some faith in the beginning, but the more one engages the principle, the more one trusts. The more one trusts in the self as ultimate storehouse of knowledge and power, the more it reveals itself to be so. By planting an idea or a desire at the beginning of a tea session and letting it filter down into the subconscious mind, ideally forgetting about it entirely, we find that very quickly these desires manifest before our eyes. The degree to which we're able to empty ourselves of word and thought while drinking tea, the faster the process seems to work. Selecting teas with a subtle force of vibration is also significant. In a sense, we allow the tea, the quantum principle, to do the work. When we drink tea in this way, it's remarkable how quickly problems seem to resolve themselves or simply don't appear at all. Tea is a wonderful communication aid, smoothing over differences and helping to build bonds between individuals and organizations. Tea does so almost effortlessly, so long as we allow it, keeping ever an open mind. The ritual of tea takes on many forms. It can be performed with I Ching teapots or in coffee mugs. The form doesn't matter so much as the content. The substance of tea ritual is at once the tea and the tea brewer acting together. In the dance between them lies the creation of worlds and the exploration of limitless possibility. I invite you to employ this frame of mind the next time you take a cup of tea, if you aren't already, and discover for yourself the transformative and transcendental aspect of tea. Thank you. Again, the live performance. Kira has three very special teas planned after this. One is made from 1,000-year-old tea trees. Actually, two are. One's a pu'er tea.
Wow, yes.
One's black. And a raw pour from 1992, which is something of a time machine chicken. And Yvonne is here, the big boss.
May I ask how much that pu'er? I know some of them are like $10,000
We
per.
can get you 10,000. This
Wow.
one's actually much more reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, another reason why I love pu'er, I know it's really good to help you to, control the weight and make sure you don't get fat. And, like for us on TV all the time, your audience, your fans sometimes always say, Lisa, I noticed, you're getting a little bit around your waist, your belly is showing on camera.
Sure.
So, yeah, so pu'er is really good.
I don't think so. But physiologically, there are a lot of benefits to drinking the tea, but beyond the physiological, there are also many other levels which can be approached through the mindfulness tea practice, which
Thank
Kira
you.
is also a tremendous expert in.
Thank you, Eric. By the way, we did had a very brief interview with Kira and Tian before the seminar starts, but we're in such a rush, haven't got a chance to try the tea yet, but we're going to do that after the seminar. So the next speaker I'm going to introduce to everyone is the lovely Catherine Fan, and she's a co-founder of C10 Biotech Corp and is a McGill University graduate with a family background in traditional Chinese medicine. She has co-developed a group of advanced immunotherapies that were inspired by a group of novel integrative cancer therapies developed with Dr. Jack He for patients with advanced and multi-drug resistant cancer. So she's going to talk about celebrate humanity, quantum consciousness, and quantum wealth. 好，接下来让我们热烈掌声，请出我们的第3位主讲人，C10 Biotech Corp 的联合创始人范雪明女士。她是出身中医世家，她会跟我们分享非常有趣的Celebrate Humanity。有请。
谢谢大家。Thank you everyone for taking your precious time and come here for this seminar. So basically, I want to share something. Regardless your race and what you were born, where you are, you could be coming from a background of extreme poverty. It doesn't matter. After I share this PowerPoint, I hope everybody will be energized and see your life at a different angle. So basically, everything we experience in this world is really your mind making you crazy. Basically, your mind creates certain type of illusions because maybe there's a state of heart, mind, and spirit that where the profound connectedness of godlike existence or oneness can be personally experienced. Because when we are depressed, when we are, let's say, when you are broke or when you doesn't go well with your jobs or even your startup company, number one you feel is isolation, and which is not true. And all this is created by your mind. So because everything comes from a common essence, and we are all frequencies, and we are all energy. Just from that one sentence, that means you and you and you and me are connected. So if you have a problem, pray to the Creator, and you see how many hands landing. Somebody may knock onto your door, or let's say today I need to give a paycheck to my employees, and then at 5 o'clock, maybe somebody send you a check, and it happened to our company over and over again. So what I want to try to say is, if you know somebody that's depressed for 15 years and 20 years, there's a way to help them. In 30 days, not more than 30 days, they would experience this brand new person. We've done it over and over again. Is you have to teach that person the insight within themselves, okay? And then they have to look for a higher purpose, a higher self, rather than just really, in Chinese, they have a sentence, you are drowning into your own mind, into craziness, like 钻牛角尖. That's exactly the point. So, the purpose of life is really to experience this common essence and a higher self that we all are connected, and everyone is connected to each other, the nature, the entire universe. What it means is, never underestimate yourself, and don't you ever feel be left out or not confident, because you and you and you, we all matters in this entire universe. Because there's a Chinese saying, they said a grain of rice can tip the scale. And that's exactly true. So never ever feel left out, alone, or I was never good enough. Now in quantum physics, we all know that whoever that study quantum mechanics, that all things are seen as possibility waves. What it means is, it is consciousness that changed these possibility waves into actuality. Because when you are thinking something, you actually send out energy. And we all carry a magnetic field within ourselves. Okay, so that's why when it's a full moon, or we all feel that, especially with women, right? With the psychological circle, what we call menstrual circle, we all affected by that. So in 1805, Young's experiments, Young proved that light acted like a wave phenomenon. And that's really interesting. Exactly 100 years later, it was Einstein proved that light could also act as a particle of energy, a single photon, or what we call quantum. So the photon seems to be conscious of whether or not it was watched. So on the left is when you're watching it, and on the right, that's what you're not watching it. So what it really means is when we send our thought frequency, how we feel, what the word we say, we all carry energies. So it's true that we create reality, but it's also true the reality created us. It's our negativity, our energy, we shape the reality. That reality bounce back, reflect how we experience it. So this is really important. When you are not happy or happy, look inside your heart. Always look inside your heart and check out how we say things, how we feel, how we think. Because all this will give our environment and energy feedback that shape your reality. So now this means that in infinite quantum potential or possibility waves, our normal three-dimensional space, time, world is only a special case of photon interaction directed by our consciousness. So that means you can create your own reality. It's really, really true. It doesn't matter where you come from, a poor family or rich family, it's you that can determine that. So also photons can be instantaneously aware of each other, like they are one and the same entity. So Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen proved this mathematically in 1937. Then later, a French physicist, Alan Aspect, proved it with an actual experiment. So basically, what it really means is photon polarity has positive and negative states. Unknown, it remains unknown until one is measured. So when one correlated photon is measured, the state of the other photon is revealed. And this is really, really interesting because that what it means is in quantum theory, now we have to allow for non-local interaction and the effect of consciousness. And then I have because I'm a mother of three, I have my son and my twins. Whoever not happy, how your children behave or everything, we create those. Because we always say, I'm coming from a traditional Chinese background, we always say, oh, my son is this. So every time when you say, my son is this, or my daughter is this, even though they're not in front of you, but subconsciously, they can sense that energy instantaneously. So now, if you want your children to be better in any way, more respectful towards you, it's actually we have to stay the change, not them. So that's really, really important. So could everything in time be ever present? Yes, because we make an imprint in the energy, in the universe, in the space. And what if space-time is a block universe where the past, present, and future all exist together? And could all this be just within one connected consciousness? So could that be in this one consciousness, there is a way to access to all time and all locations and all possibilities? I truly believe yes. Could this be one big connection, connected consciousness, or oneness? Maybe the ground of being God or existence itself. Now, what if this is all true and life is only an illusion? And if this is all true, life is only a temporary, limited experience in time, space, and not our true nature. And what if this is all true? And what if we are the quantum potential of existence itself, and which is our unlimited, infinite, immortal, and true nature? Now, I think if it is all true, scarcity, death, pain, and suffering are all illusions. So we can choose with how we feel. We cannot change how we feel right away, but we can change watch out what we say. And we can train our mind how to think, and they will in turn shape how we feel. Now, I want to share three cases, quantum wealth and humanitarian works. So the power influence is highly organized and intelligently directed knowledge. So it is essential for success in the accumulation of wealth and in humanitarian work. Because just from this movie, how to raise the money through this crowdfunding, that's exactly what I'm trying to talk about. Because in other words, power refers to conscious, organized effort, sufficient to enable an individual to transform desire into abundant wealth, wish, or any humanitarian work you want to do. Now, organized power is produced through the coordination of effort of at least two people or more, in sometimes 18 like Jack Ma Alibaba or the Henry Ford's 50 people. That I'm going to talk about that later. So who work towards a definite purpose, mission, in the spirit of harmony. That means if you want to do something great, or a company, your partner that you choose has to be vibrating in the spirit of harmony. It means similar frequency, similar energy. And then, these all been done before, over and over with different companies. What it means, you start with one dream, then you attract a second person. So no two minds ever come together without creating a third, invisible and intangible forces, which will attract you the third mind. And that third person will show up. You may never know that person before, but it will. Now, initiate and practice highly focused thought frequencies, often practice visualization and creative imagination. This is all true for top athletic Olympic players. They all practice visualization and creative imaginations. But you need to train your brain at least 95%, if not 100%, to think the result that you want. But what happens is people know this knowledge, but 90% of the time they're thinking the unwanted negativity and fear and worry. Now, knowledge may be converted into power by organizing it into definite plans and by expressing those plans in terms of action. You've got to take actions. So plans need sufficient power to translate them into actions. Now, energy is nature's universal set of building blocks, and quantum consciousness translates this energy into matter and reality. So we create reality, but also reality also creates us. So nature's building blocks are available to men, women, the energy involved in thinking, and our awareness. Now, once you have one person, two person, three person, we call it a group of brains. So it's been proven by experiment in science that a group of brains or a group of battery will produce more battery individually by one battery plus one. Same with human. So a group of efficient brains, coordinated or connected, is the spirit of harmony, will provide more thought energy than a single brain. Now, case number one, Mr. Andrew Carnegie, his mastermind group consists of 50 people, with whom he surrounded himself for the definite purpose of manufacturing and marketing steel. So he attributed all his entire fortune to the power he accumulated through this group of mastermind, means master quantum consciousness from the mind. So great power can be accumulated through no other principle. Same with Jack Ma, same with many great people. Case study number two is Henry Ford transformed the poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance into great wealth and success by aligning himself with great minds whose vibrations of thoughts were absorbed into his own mind. So through his association with Edison, Burbank, and Firestone, so Mr. Ford added to his own brain power and the summation of all conscious energy of these great minds, intelligence, experience, knowledge, and spiritual forces of this awful man. Now, this is my favorite case study, is Muhammad Gandhi. We can study the method by which Muhammad Gandhi attained his great influence of power. He came by power through inducing over 200 million people into coordinated in the spirit of harmony for a definite purpose. And Gandhi has accomplished a miracle through the power of quantum consciousness. Now, how to practice that? The negative thoughts and feelings of helplessness make and shape you to think yourself into isolation, desperation, and poverty. So in the pursuit of wealth, happiness, and your mission for humanity, or for yourself, look really deep inside your heart. Find all the answers within your heart. If you're blaming outsider, your friends and your family, you would never grow. This is true, coming from my own experience. So in the pursuit of wealth, happiness, and your mission, or your startup company, you need to set your definite plan into highly focused action with purpose. You've got to have a purpose. You have to have faith and desire and also persistence. But you've got to have a heart bigger than yourself, a bigger purpose than yourself, a higher self. And this is the most powerful way. It doesn't matter for your startup company, for anything you want to do in life, you have to have a purpose higher than yourself. Then wealth, and success must be desired, attracted, and won by organized, intelligent methods. Poverty is ruthless, and it needs no plan. You just do nothing, right? And you have no job, then you can blame everything you want, because poverty, it just doesn't need any effort. So a definite plan, positive emotions and thoughts, plus a burning desire for wealth, mission, are the only dependable means of accumulating wealth and to achieve any goals or any humanitarian works that you want to do. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you. Yeah, I feel so fortunate. I am here this afternoon to, hang out with all the great minds in this room. So I do feel more connected. I can benefit with the great minds here, make myself stronger and happier, and be able to spread the happiness to everyone else. So the next, I'm going to introduce this lovely lady, Lesia Anna, and she's also the executive producer for the Connected Universe film, and she is being a chiropractor and acupuncturist. Dr. Lesia Anna has healed and helps connect people to the energy within themselves. So she's going to talk about connecting within, harnessing quantum energy to improve health and life. 接下来呢，让我们以热烈掌声也请出我们这部电影的执行制片非常美丽的 Lesia Anna。那么她呢会跟我们分享一下呢，非常专注，她从一位曾经呢对这个中医和针灸非常了解的一位专家，如何呢能够希望利用这个量子能量学来帮助人们改善健康和生活。Lesia。
Thank you so much. Wow, I love how you're speaking. It's just so fast. I speak a couple of other languages, and I just love languages. It's definitely one of my favorite sort of hobbies, I guess, keep my mind going. Do I have this set up here? Is that ready to go? Do I just go quick? Oh, look at me. Awesome. So thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I'm super honored that you're coming to see our movie. We've put in our heart and soul, speaking about mission, into this movie. Many, many sleepless nights, many times where we thought we weren't sure if it was going to actually make it out. But we did it. We had our hearts in it and our mission, and we had faith that we were doing the right thing. And so this is a great honor that you're coming to be a part of it, and it's a super great honor that you've translated it into Chinese. We're so humbled by this. We're now in 6 languages. Speaking of languages, we're in about 130 countries or so. So it's really been a beautiful experience for us to watch it just take off on its own, really. So, oh, I thought I had taken that down, the Adobe start part. So ignore that. But quantum science and the power to heal. It is a paid-for photo. I just didn't do it right. But this photo really has not much to do with it other than to show you the absolute rainbow of colors that lives within each of us, and how much our thoughts actually influence how we present ourselves into the world. So I talk about quantum science and the power to heal. It's one of the things I go speaking about. One of my greatest mentors is, in fact, Albert Einstein, and he says we cannot solve our problems with the same mind that created them. So when I was practicing as a chiropractor and then as an acupuncturist, often people wanted to give me the responsibility of healing them. And of course, healing comes from within ourselves. Healing comes from within taking responsibility for our own actions and our own thoughts and how we're putting ourselves out into the universe. So now I kind of stepped away from doing a lot of the physical aspects of healing, and I speak and teach about using our minds to heal. And so the more that we can understand how the mind works, the more we can then understand how to, quote-unquote, control it, or actually more accurately allow it to flow in a way that is in harmony with each other and in harmony with our tea ceremonies You know, I loved that part actually as well. Like, and in harmony with the stars, the charting of the stars, and we speak the same language. I love that we're all here excited and speaking the same language around how to be the most healthy and the most contributing towards society and community so that we can change our world, not just for ourselves individually, but for our communities, for our countries, for the planet. I think everybody knows we're in a little bit of a peak of a pickle here with our planet, so we do have to start thinking about these things. But the change begins within. So what if we could see things differently? And how would your life change? That's probably the two questions that got me hooked into the movie more than anything. That is how we introduced the movie. So when I was practicing, people would ask me, like, where do I start? How do I get going with changing my life with my thoughts? How do I stay consistent? I talk to myself and I give myself these positive affirmations. Come on, you know, law of attraction. I tell myself every day, I'm going to have a great life. Why is it not working? Why are we not consistent in creating these miracles? So first of all, one of the biggest things we need to do is be clear with what we want, have clarity with that. And so how do I choose what I want, I ask. Or they ask. And pardon me. So they then ask, how do I choose what I want? How do we even know what we want? We've all had the experience where we say, oh, okay, I really want, you know, to meet so-and-so and have this amazing experience with them, and you have all these hopes and ideas that it might work out one way, and then suddenly it's kind of working out a different way that you never knew, and you're thinking, well, I was connecting to greater consciousness. How do I know that that's not, why is that not working for me? So one of the things to really have some clarity around yourself is how are you setting your intentions for what you want? So what I do personally is I now take people through a meditation, a hypnotic meditation, if you will, so that we can really set up some super clear intentions for what it is that you desire deeply out of your life. So again, back to the whole idea about, you know, being really consistent and being really clear, and then working within a group to keep that consistency going. Working in a connected way, because if we're doing it individually, sitting on the side of a mountain, it might work for quite a while on that mountainside, or even in our living rooms and having that meditation source, but real life happens in connection and in relationship to others. We're never really meant to be isolated or alone. And so really, this becomes a bit of a no beginning and a no end. You know, we are continuously evolving ourselves. You'll have wins and you keep going up. Bit by bit and little by little, we improve our wealth, we improve our health, and we improve our connections to each other. I hope that was something helpful. So, one of the other aspects that I love to share now in my programs is that it's compelling for us to never stop learning, to staying open, because one of the things I would notice from people, what they would often tell me is, this is who I am and that's it. Like, you know, I'm who I am, said Popeye. And really, it doesn't serve us. I think, you know, 100 years ago, the 4-minute mile was an unbeatable experience. You know, that's it. That's the fastest man on the earth. We're not going anywhere else. And then when it was broken, it got changed. Our paradigm of understanding what was real and not real was changed. So we really actually, we're presenting a science here, but we really do know at the same time that this is a science for now, for this moment, and that the evolution of our understanding and what we accept as truth or not truth in our world is always an evolution. And I believe that's what Einstein was referring to there. So when we are born and throughout our lives, we're looking for 3 things. We're looking for love, security, and self-esteem. And I don't think I have a lot of time to get into too much of that, other than to say these are our 3 basic needs, And connection really helps to solve absolutely every single one of them. If we're connected, we're feeling the love through our parents, through our spiritual nature, and then back down into earth and through to ourselves. And with that connection comes security. We know that we can go out and do more in the world, and by doing more and gaining confidence, we have a higher sense of self-esteem. So these three are critical basic human needs, and I think that when we are experiencing these three basic human needs on a consistently positive level, our health absolutely just begins to regenerate itself from a cellular nature, from within ourselves. Our bodies are fully capable, pharmaceutical companies pharmaceutical test tubes that can create their own antibiotic, their own antiviral. Our bodies are incredible healing machines. So we just need to give it the right environment. So you are part of creating your codes. Oh, that's my timer. Yay. So I'll just go through this really quickly. You are part of creating your electrical codes, and what you think does matter. Every thought that you put into your system, into your own mind, matters. It will come out and reveal itself in your body and in your health. So, we work together. We're affecting each other in our thoughts and our systems. And I just want you to understand that everything is energy. So handle your thoughts with matter. You matter. And that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Another big round of applause to her. Wow. And I love your outfit. I love your picture there. Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll be able to hear a bit more from her and Malcolm a little bit later on tonight before the screening. So stay tuned. So the next speaker, I'm going to introduce him. He actually is a longtime friend of myself. I mean, I met Dr. Yanqing Wang while our television station was hosting the pageant show, and he do have the luck. I believe at that time he hired one of our winners. I'm not quite sure whether she's still working for him or she get replaced by AI technology. I don't know that. I don't want to get into that, but very thrilled to see Dr. Yanqing Wang here today. And Dr. Wang has led a team of data scientists in developing video and image recognition, AI search engines. So, and he's going to talk about AI visually connect the world. 好，接下来呢，要为大家呢邀请的这位演讲的嘉宾呢是王彦清博士。那么王博士他领导的团队呢，应用这个人工智能和大数据的分析来发展图像和视频的搜索引擎。让我们以热烈掌声请出王博士。
Such a diverse seminar ever attended. Okay, so but I'm so glad. Yeah. So let's get to the. Where's the point? Oh, okay. Here. Okay. So, it's 6 years ago actually we started a company. Our company mission statement is called Visually Connect World. Just coincidence, so close to the connect the universe. And when Iris called me to make a speech, I said, seems not related, but I see the title of the movie, I know it connected. So just to introduce a little bit, there's a lot of hype about the AI. So what's the AI really solve problem? The problem is it's just too much information. On the left is the Moore's law, basically. Too many information, too much information. However, the human processing, the ability to processing information actually very limited. How many number we can process? 7, that's it. I tell you telephone number 7, you can say, okay, I remember, I can call back. But if I give you a number of 20 numbers, you cannot. That's the working memory. 7, that's about it. So what AI solve is try to shrink, filter all the information into 7. Now, then, as a human, you can process it. That's about it. Okay, so on the left top, that's my idol, Stuart Card. And everyone, whenever I click anything, icon here, use mouse, use computer, should thanks to him. He invented the graphic user interface. Okay, so and then Steve Jobs steal from him, and Bill Gates steal from Steve Jobs, and he's my supervisor. So I pick up his brain. So basically, it's so much information only have 3 ways you can process information. The first one is called data crystallization. Nowadays, we change the name called big data. And the second one is personalization. Basically, you pick up the only information you need. The third one is visualization. Is people process image differently from the language. You even use different part of the brain, basically. It's totally different. So now we are in a modern world. So what's the modern world? So today's everything exists to end in a photo. Okay, but before that, so where did photos go? So it's in your brain, you see it. But nowadays, it's go another place. It's called a computer or your phone. So now, not only human process image, now how about we use a machine to process image? So that's the point. That's how we start this company. Okay, so the image not only is the first perception of human sensors, but also is most impact on people's emotion and anything else. So that nowadays before you see a lot of like newspaper, you see a lot of text and then cut out image. Now you see image and insert some text. So the image is in the psychology. My background is psychology of human-computer interaction. It's called visual domination. It's actually science. It's not something made up. Okay, so our company is focused on the vision only. It's part of the core of the AI. It's called computer vision. So what we doing this time of AI is different from the last time. The last time is knowledge-based. Basically, learn the knowledge, what the people know. But this time is called deep learning. It's totally different. It's learn how people getting the intelligence, the process of intelligence. It's called cognition. So that's very, very different things. So this actually is learn from that machine to simulate not the result of the brain, actually the function of the brain. So what's the function of the brain? As John mentioned, the brain actually is very, very on the physical level. It's very simple. It's a map. Everything have a location. The most important things is connecting. So that's back to this movie topic. It's connected universe. How do we know? It's everything from our brain. You think about if there is no brain, there is no such thing as connected universe, right? So everything in your brain, and then but all the same image, the same thing nowadays also exists in a computer. So if we can connect the content image in the computer, then we have another way actually can connect the things, connect everything. Okay, so that's the logic behind this. So what we developed, we call a visual internet. So it's a visual network. So every photos have some content. Then we use machine actually understand the connection between them. So for example, these are such beautiful booths there, but we know from our study, we would know in Paris someone where exactly of that booth is doing something. It sounded like far-fetched, it's actually is reality now. Okay, and the next one is video. Video actually like a movie, the same thing. So the video have different segments. Then you can connect the video as well. So human ability, no people can watch 2 movies at the same time. But machine can watch 100 movies at the same time and also make sense. As John said, do machine know when to laugh? Yes, it can. Because it will learn how human laugh and when human laugh. So it will very, very much, so when we're talking about connect the universe, there is two ways only. One is connect by our mind. We need to open up our mind. Another one, I would say, by technology. Today's technology is so much advanced. It's make this connection is not only possible, but also useful and also commercially available. So this together, the video and the photo, of course, can connect it. So this is our application. So we connect all the world, the product people put on the store sell. And then we put them together. So now we kind of have a God's eye. We know everything. So if you buy one thing, we know you probably buy another thing. And if young people buy this, they probably buy that. So we actually put this one for the, currently we have over 1,000 e-commerce store actually use our product. Just use this thing. You can understand very easily. See, we know how people are wearing and what they want, and then if they buy this, also buy that, something that a connection. So we know everything. So by connection. So connection is really, really everything. So this the AI-driven store. It's different from just a plain store. This basically personalized to you. So only fit you. When you open, so this only the product you need, less than 7. That's more important. Not give you 1,000 products that you search. We provide only 7. And that's the thing you need. And all the recommendation kind of thing. So this is the one application. Now we put on the cloud. So we spent our company 5 years already. So we spent 5 years establish something called Internet of Vision, put on the cloud. So where are we? So okay. So what's the Internet of Vision? So on the left is Internet. Internet as a network. There is something called node. So Internet basically connect computers. Computer is node, and then you have a Internet of Things. That's connect things, right? And also you have a social network that connect the people, at the node, right? So for us on the right, we call it visual network. That's we invented. It's very powerful. But this is use the image, either a video or photo as a node. Then we connect them. Because we can do that, you can think about if an alien never know what's going on the Earth, but somehow it can hold all the Earth photo and the video, but also understand it. It pretty much know what's going on in the Earth, right? So that's the very close thing to this network is different from the other network. It's very close to have self-conscious. We cannot claim we have self-conscious, but very, very close. And every node from any point, you can connect to another one. So in conclusion, I said, we are not in mind like a connected world. Actually in the artificial intelligent technology in today's world, actually technically very close to that. And that's a conclusion of my talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. Wow, that's very informative. Wow. From now on, I have to be very cautious about, how I appear, my visually, maybe being connected or become somewhere else. Thank you. So the last but not least speaker, I'm going to invite Sharon Ligo. She's an author, poet, social critic, and spiritual elder. And she has studied the Vedas and many religions and faiths, including Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, spirituality, and many other belief systems. She will share her insights regarding how our every thought, action, word, and deed can change our reality. 好，接下来呢，让我们要请出的另外的一位演讲嘉宾是 Sharon Ligo。那么他呢，对于吠陀经、佛教、印度教、基督教、伊斯兰 教和灵性的修行和其他的信仰体系呢有很深的研究。他会分享他个人的见解来阐述为什么个人的想法能够改变日常现实。Sharon。
Thank you. Technology doesn't work for some people like me. It has to do with magnetic force. First of all, I'm just honored to be here, and I'm very excited about this film and this activity. Most all of this illustrious panel has said a lot of the things that I wanted to say. I can maybe scrap a lot of my notes. But I want to start out with that. Not only are we all interconnected, we are a piece of the force, of the light, of the energy. The World Wide Web is now a computer system, and that's how we think of it. But we, as a connected source, had a World Wide Web long before computers existed. I am the light, you are the light, and we are not an accident. Whether you call it karma, destiny, or fate, it is all interconnected from the source from which, within you and within I. If you now consider that 80% of our DNA is the same as a banana and 88% the same as a mouse, you realize why this interconnectivity is far more important when we look at the world as a whole. When you start to examine what's going on our Earth, and whether or not you care about ecology, or whether or not you care about energy lines, or whatever, all of that is interconnected with us. As she was saying, it's part of how you think, how you behave, and how you perceive. We're just leaving the age of prove it to me, or science as we currently know it. In other words, it cannot be measured in linear lines, means that we currently quantify everything in a specific linear manner. And if we don't see that, we don't accept it as fact. In the past, that closed all discussion and further examination, and was quite a bit to do with why we have thrown away a lot of ancient wisdoms and cultures. Yet, per the predictions of many cultures and belief systems right now, things are unfolding exactly as expected on this earth, though perhaps not as we would like, and in some cases much to our detriment and other living things on this planet. We see the most pronouncedly in nature currently. So let's assume, for the purposes of discussing connectivity of both universal and individual spirituality, that the vibration of the earth, humans, and other life practices that are currently accepted as gospel, no pun intended, are now with greater and greater frequency revisiting ancient wisdoms, rituals, histories previously dismissed. These things include meditation, tea ceremonies, acupuncture, cupping. I'm sorry, I'm just freezing up here. There are many things that we are revisiting and finding to be exceedingly valid in our time. And in a time when we've been saturated with drugs and chemicals, we find that it's even more important to find alternate ways of connecting with our body and the source without poisoning ourselves, and by cleaning out our system and our mind. The healthier our bodies are and the healthier we feel spiritually, the cleaner our mindset, the easier it is for us to connect back to the source and to one another. In Assyrian texts, the Aztec calendar, ancient Vedic teachings of India, they all predicted the Kali Yuga, or that the world would be progressing into this last and most difficult transformational phase. Thousands of years before it began to happen, in both Deuteronomy and Leviticus of the Bible, they predicted the end of time and the return of God as commencing with events that may have or are occurring now. Nostradamus, a famous French prophet from the Middle Ages, successfully predicted the First and Second World Wars. He was born in around the 14th century. He also predicted that the earth would begin its last cycle during our time. It is because of these so-called coincidences, because of culture,
isolations from one another. For thousands of years I wish to address the subject of spirituality for the lack of encompassing a better term of the all and the one. We are still uncomfortable with anything we cannot catalog, measure, or explain away. The similarities, though, are too many to dismiss. By the time the final Earth stages comes about, it will be many of thousands of years from now still, so we don't have to worry quite yet. But before there was radio, TV, satellite, rapid travel, many cultures had never been in contact, yet they all had and believed about the same 8 to 12 laws. And most humans have believed that a force greater than themselves since we lived in a cave. Unexplained things, visitations, occurrences are recorded in some way, like cave drawings, stone circles, iconography, even the hummingbirds that we can only see aerially thousands of years before they invented the airplane. Shaman, lamans, and other practitioners have believed for thousands of years that our body, mind, and soul energies could be controlled or healed by focusing a person's energies through meditation, chanting, acupuncture, and by adjusting the chi or magnetic ley lines of our body through the portals similar to the magnetic ley lines of the earth that the animals use to assist them in migrating. We could heal or modify conditions with practices like Tai Chi, Qigong, Reiki, chiropractic, herbology, smoke, and cupping, just to name a few. But adjusting, realigning, and ailment energy includes some mental and emotional states as well. Several cases of meditators in Nepal, Tibet, India, etc. have documented cases of levitating while in a trance-like state. Others from all over the globe speak of visiting without taking their body or remembering past lives. In indigenous cultures, they practice spirit walking and dream quests. In South America, local tribes pick a tree that they need. They yell at it for several days. And when that time is up, they come and they can actually push a 200-foot tree to the ground without having to saw it or use machinery. This indicates to us how connected we are, not just to one another, but to every animal, every blade of grass, every planet, every star. In Celtic cultures and indigenous peoples, they have thanked anything that they've killed to eat. They thank it for its energy. They thank it for its contribution to their wellness. This is part of gratitude and something that our society is learning to get back to. In China, surgery is done without the use of anesthetic by putting the mind and body into a deep meditative state. In Western medicine, they have successfully used hypnosis. During Cinco de Mayo, thousands pay homage to their ancestors as do other cultures. Many churches believe the laying of hands heals. There's just too many recorded cases and centers to ignore or dismiss the good examples of proof of our interconnectivity with nature, the world, and people. This has gone on for thousands of years. There's just too much documentation and witnesses not to consider the possibilities of the power of the common source, that being ourselves. How can we deny being part of everything when the moon controls the waves and the ocean and the reproduction system of humans? What about those hunches, the deja vu, or coincidences? I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in interconnectivity and a little divine intervention. How many times have you experienced yourself or heard of a parent or spouse that suddenly needs to call home, check on their child, only to find out that there was a problem or was about to be something wrong? How do we dismiss that? It's an everyday occurrence. Astral traveling, talking to spirits or ancestors, predicting events, dreaming of things before they happen, locating lost items, readings that are uncanny, either with tea leaves or cards. These occurrences and examples have been around for thousands of years and continue still. More and more we are admitting that we have witnessed many of these things. We are not being stifled as of many years ago. When someone dies, we say the light has left their eyes, because it's true, because their light has left. It is not destroyed, but changed. Exploring everything through all of the religions that she previously mentioned for me, I've looked, and if you see beyond the dogma, the cultural and political interference, you remain objective. You will discover people like Dr. Jigar Shah, Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Louise L. Hay, John Holland, Alan Hitz, and the Vedas, and many other beliefs that all believe the same, that we are of the light, that we are all connected, that we are part of a web system that includes every blade of grass and every planet. The general theme practicing love, peace, and harmony and tolerance rang true in each of them, believing that we were one from the source and therefore grateful to be part. Most cultures in some way chant, meditate, pray, sing, and ask for forgiveness, having the ability to heal, repair the spirit relationships, increase abundance, energy, vitality, success by drawing from the source. Then by tapping in, we can be healthier, as can the earth and other living things. The only stipulation being that whatever faith you practice, it should do no harm, nor exercise any control over anyone but yourself. That all cultures practice rituals are valid. Mother Mary is as effective prayer as chanting to Krishna or meditating with Buddha. What's important is to develop and grow your connection with the source. Effective in a prayer of chanting is reflecting on oneself, one's own energies, and making that sure that you're in alliance and balanced. This is a connection that transcends every planet, solar system, the Tao, heaven, nirvana, or the saints, prophets, and angels. These are documented from past cultures to face. We need only re-examine them and continue on our practice. The World Wide Web may be started with Microsoft, but in fact, we were already the World Wide Web. Out of all the darkness and light, yin and yang, you can't appreciate one without the other. Though we have now entered a dark period on the earth, through it, seekers of light are expanding and growing in number. They have produced this documentary, created methods to eliminate disease, cure conditions, reforest mountains, and put a man back on the moon. We are all a piece of the source. We draw from the same font, separated into millions of pieces and yet part of one whole. Made of stardust, our DNA proves connectivity to the earth and our effect on it, making us part of the solution and the problem. We must try to use our imaginations more thoroughly and link with the animals, plants, microorganisms, stars, even the stones. All have their place and are part of the source within me and within you. That the Tao, the heavens, and space live both in and around all of us and everything. We are what we eat and feed off of. This includes food and water, but also what you fill your mind, what you intake through your ears, your nose, your eyes, and your mouth. What you believe right now is your truth until you change your mind. And at that, you must change your actions. Your speech, behavior, beliefs will nurture or hurt your light, destiny, and interconnectivity with the source. Your most loathsome enemy is as much a piece of the light and a healer as are you. There is a reason for each and every one of us for being here at this specific time. In closing, I'd like to point out that each and every person hears its own voice. They enjoy their own kind of music. They dance to their own tune. But each of those pieces, like a snowflake, makes a mountain full of snow that we can ski down. It's very important that you hear your own voice while melding and in love joining with the others. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Another big round of applause to Sharon. Thank you. What a touching speech. Thank you. So now, next, I think that we're going to open the floor to questions. Now, let's welcome back the filmmaker and director Malcolm Carter to come up to the stage. So he's going to do the Q&A with the audience. 接下来呢，我们要给大家一点时间啊。我想呢，刚才的贵宾听了我们几位演讲人的分享之后，可能也有很多问题，就是有关电影这个 Connected Universe 的。那接下来我们就要请我们的导演呢，也是我们的这个电影的制片人Malcolm Carter， 他会过来呢跟大家来有一个问答的环节的话，也就请您举手，我们的工作人员会把麦克风呢传递到您的手上去。OK， Malcolm。
Thank you very much, Lisa, and again, another big round of applause for all of the speakers who contributed here today. So, I'm very interested in hearing from the people who've come out. If you have any particular questions, we'd love to give you a chance to share, so fire away. Anyone? Well, I can start with one, and also something very special for all of you who've come out today is that in the journey of the connected universe, we experience our world through our senses, through our five senses, and as everyone on this panel has pointed out in a different way, is that's a limiting way to experience. There's a lot more happening than just what we can see, hear, touch, smell, and go through our senses. So I actually have a piece of the moon and a piece of Mars here through my work with NASA and NASA